Auras! Auras everywhere! You suck, Red Aura! Nobody loves you. Wow, I never thought I would be the one to say those words. Hey! In any case, Prot Paladin is a new beast in Shadowlands with a new passive, holy power back, and a bunch of talents all swapped and unpruned. Makes the beloved tank into a force to be reckoned with. Or maybe it's just a cooler spec now? You decide! Prot is not the only spec we play, and you can catch us doing things in Alpha and BFA on twitch.tv/Marcelian Online. We stream 5 days a week doing dungeons and raids with you lovely folk. Come on by and say hi, and we'll eat a pie? What the? As with all three Paladin specs, old school auras are back! Almost. The most impactful is undoubtedly Devotion Aura. This will probably be your main and default option for all content. 3% damage reduction for your group is nothing to dismiss, and of course this is beneficial for your ass as well. Nothing else to say, at least for this specific option. Concentration Aura is likely something you will never need, at least not in PvE combat, where you really never want to take away the 3% damage reduction. It does provide resistance to silences and interrupts, which is likely more of a PvP thing, unless they make it so it negates cast bar pushback when you are hit by mobs. Both Concentration and Crusader Aura are event-specific options that solve a particular issue, if we are talking combat. Crusader Aura is clearly useful in outdoor content, world quests and whatnot. The main issue is that these are on the GCD. I propose we vote on getting auras off the GCD. That way we can more reactively use them to counteract an incoming silence or pair Crusader with Cavalier so we can move swiftly around. Just a suggestion. And now we are down to Red Aura. If you haven't seen any of our previous Paladin videos for the Alpha, the basic idea is that Red Aura is shit. It's not really Paladin-y to incentivize having your group members dying. It's very unlikely this will ever be used. The effect is strong but counterintuitive, and as a tank, swapping to Red Aura for the wings means someone in your party is dying despite you having Sacrifice, Bop, Lay on Hands, and so on. So you either exhausted all of these, meaning your group member is a boob and deserves to have his DPS changed to 0. Or the content is extremely tough where your group is in danger, in which case swapping from 3% damage reduction sounds super counterproductive. Holy Power is back, and with that we say bye bye to Shield of the Righteous charges, but definitely not to haste stacking. To generate Holy Power, you will use Judgment, Avenger, Shield, and Hammer of the Righteous, each giving 1 Holy Power up to a total of 5 that you can stack. Judgment also no longer reduces the remaining cooldown of Shield of the Righteous, because there is no cooldown to reduce, but increases the damage the target takes from your next Holy Power ability. Overall, it's a buff to the mitigation uptime it used to provide, most likely making the Crusader's Judgment talent increase its uptime even more. Shield of the Righteous now costs 3 Holy Power, and Word of Glory is now baseline for protection, also costing 3 Holy Power. Now it's a single target heal on any friendly target, but if you cast it on yourself, its healing is increased based on your missing HP. Essentially replaces Light of the Protector in all aspects, as well as the Avenging Wrath guaranteed crit effect. With this you have a new passive as well called Shining Light, where Judgment reduces the Holy Power cost of your Word of Glory by 1. This is actually pretty cool and makes it so you have free Words of Glory pretty often. This can have some nice gameplay interactions where it works towards giving you more magic damage resistance through the sheer fact that you can heal the damage back. Clearly this works well for all damage and is even great for party members. This looks like it will make Word of Glory behave kind of like a pseudo Death Strike / Ignore Pain as a secondary mitigation with conditions attached. And to round up the passive discussion, Riposte is now a passive in your spellbook, not just an almost hidden effect baked into the tooltip of strength on your character panel. Crit gives parry, we all know that, but we now have it in writing in your spellbook, because books have writing. moving on. Hammer of Wrath also made its way into the kit, generating 1 holy power and establishing itself as the execute-like ability. This works with specific Covenant abilities, but all in all, it's an extra damage button and very welcome to the kit, making its way as the potential second most important ability to cast during wins and normal executes, cause rank 2 of this baby lets you use it freely during Avenging Wrath. Some fun Class Fantasies abilities are also back. Turn Evil is the castable Fear for undeads, as well as DKs with Lichborn up, Demons for those pesky warlock pets that take 6 seconds to summon one now, and Aberrations. The tooltip says it disorients the target, making it flee in fear. I mean, which is it? Cause Fear and Disorients are 2 different mechanics. Disorients breaks 100% on damage taken, while Fear has a chance to break. From what I was able to test, this seems like a Fear, which would make sense, but then maybe the tooltip is misleading. Either way, it's a solid CC with some requirements, of course. Senza Dead is also back because Class Fantasy. It's fine. You won't use it much, but it's fine. Not all the unpruning abilities have direct utility, and this maybe paints a clearer picture as to what is actually useful and what is not. Choosing Maldraxxus gives you Vanquisher's Hammer. After casting this edgy judgment, your next Word of Glory will also pop a Shield of the Righteous. This effect is pretty cool for Prot, since you can make Word of Glory free as well through your baseline kit. Having a free Shield of the Righteous is a very strong effect considering how long it takes to build to 3 holy powers. This will essentially work towards increasing uptime on the mitigation, specifically around 15% more uptime, although with the current haste and general stat scaling, it's hard to tell if more uptime is actually needed. Although the free Shield of the Righteous interacts with talents and abilities, so the synergy is still there. More on that as we get into the beta and closer to the release of the expansion. The Venthyr will provide you with this wonderfully large, red and awesome animated, consecration-like pile of steaming shit. Ashen Hollow. God damn it, why though? Just why? This is a 4-minute cooldown, large-ass AoE that damages 1 enemy and heals 1 friendly, and makes your Hammer of Wrath usable on any target in it, regardless of their HP levels. The damage and healing are incredibly low, and on top of that, this is a 4-minute cooldown, and you have one of the most underwhelming abilities this side of the Twisting Nether. When they decided this had to be 4 minutes, they had to make it matter since 4-minute cooldowns should be impactful. The healing and damage numbers are not so far. And the fact that they made it work on only 1 friendly and 1 hostile target at a time boggles my mind. Why make it an AoE then? Is it for Hammer of Wrath? You can maybe get 4 or more hammers out during its duration. For 4 minutes, that seems like a major kick in the nards. Their design intent, based on some blue posts they made, is for it to be a big impactful cooldown to match its actually pretty impressive visual animation. I'm all for that, and the fact that its numbers are still under revision is a good sign, and hopefully we can get this to perform as badass as it looks. But you can wash away the memory of this filth with Divine Toll from the Kyrian Covenant. God damn it. Look at this shit. Shields flying everywhere, everyone and their mom getting silenced. Like, what else is there to do in this life after you put this on cooldown? Suffice to say, the utility of this in AoE is unparalleled and the damage cannot be dismissed. It generates 1 holy power per main target hit, so potentially instant 5 holy powers gained, and the extra bounces from Holy Avenger work towards some pretty impressive results. Add to that it only has a 1-minute cooldown and the entire dynamic changes. 1 minute means using it on almost every big dungeon pack once you do Mythic Plus in decent and higher keys, or multiple times per boss fight, potentially aligning it with any and all add phases if they design encounters like that. Personally, I feel like this could be the strongest contender for dungeons, and if you want, you can play Prot in arenas and... Nope. Night Fae could potentially change the rules of the game with Blessings of the Seasons. First off, this doesn't stack if you have multiple paladins in your group, parties to be exact, if we are to base this on the tooltip. Once a second one pops their blessing, it overrides the previous active one. There are 4 total blessings based on the actual seasons. Autumn buffs the nearby party members for 1 minute with a 10% cooldown recovery rate. This is reminiscent of Ineffable Truth. This and all of the season buffs last for 1 minute, incurring an internal 15-second cooldown that you have to wait to get to the next one, which is Spring, which is the next one in the rotation, because these buffs cycle like the actual seasons. Neat, huh? Spring increases healing done and received by 10%, which is a beast of a boon for Protection Paladin since your Word of Glory already heals for a decent chunk. Pair this up with Wings and BAM! Mini lay on hands when you are low on HP. Blessing of Summer might be the strongest at the moment from some preliminary tests. It buffs your group to have high chance of dealing holy damage when they attack. This is a reminder of the old Seal of the Righteousness. Ah, the good feels. Outside of this, it's just a matter of numbers, and numbers will always be the first to change for good or worse. Lastly, winter is coming. Wait, wrong fantasy world. Blessing of Winter buffs your group to have attacks slow the enemy movement speed by 20% and attack speed by 15% for 6 seconds. I can see this working in high keys with affixes like Necrotic where your tank wants to kite, or PvP because protection is awesome in arena. Some talents have been redesigned, some went away, some came back, and some just moved all around. The first row is fine. The second row though has some changes. First Avenger now makes your shield hit 2 additional targets and provide you with an absorb based on 100% of the damage dealt. This is essentially the Bulwark of Light Azurite trait baked into the new First Avenger. Making its focus more on the defensive side is great and might make it the new default. Maybe? Crusader's Judgment still seems to be stronger, more holy power generation, still more DPS somehow, but I wouldn't lie if I said I wanted a break and change from this one. Moment of Glory is one of the coolest I have seen so far. When you pop Ardent Defender, every melee attack on you resets your Avenger shield cooldown. This is Captain America at its finest. It's clearly intended for heavy AoE fights where you want to just spam shields back to back. I can see this work for heavy pulls in Mythic Plus, unlikely with the target cap, or boss phases where there are just a lot of adds to instantly burst and or silence. On paper it sounds good, but when you take it into the actual content it feels like a waste when compared with First Avenger. So far it sounds cool but really is inferior to both the other talents, so hopefully we can get some more oomph pumped into it if we can hope to see it used. Further down the list, Unbreakable Spirit replaces the old Red Aura, which was a talent for protection, while the level 40 row is different in all aspects. Divine Purpose made its way here with Holy Power abilities having a 15% chance to make your next Holy Power ability free and 20% stronger. This can essentially translate into free shields or even Words of Glory, both being empowered. I don't feel super strongly about this one, but seems to pack a decent amount of power on its own. Holy Avenger has been reverted to its old effect where your holy power generation is tripled for 20 seconds with a 3-minute cooldown. This wasn't part of your kit in BFA, but now gives you a strong cooldown for 20 seconds. So far, we haven't had an instance where tank damage intake was significantly high for 20 whole seconds. Maybe a Jara? But the effectiveness of this one revolves highly around the design of the encounters, working similarly with, albeit being weaker than, Memory of Lucid Dreams. Lastly, Seraphim is here, now costing 3 holy powers instead of Shield of the Righteous charges. I mean, you could argue it costs 1 Shield of the Righteous charge to cast for a big stat buff increase. The numbers aside, the iteration makes it less detrimental than the life counterpart, and all that's left is for the numbers to justify it against Divine Purpose. It has more uptime than Holy Avenger, and in general situations I could see this becoming the default choice. Hand of the Protector has moved to replace Aegis of Light. Aegis of what? That's right, this essentially works the same as its life counterpart. It just makes Word of Glory, particularly the healing increase effect, usable on any target. Considering the bonus has been increased from 200% to 300%, this might see more usage in Shadowlands than in BFA. Lastly, Sanctified Wrath has replaced Last Defender. It increases the duration of wings and makes Judgment generate an additional holy power during its effect. This will actually upgrade Avenging Wrath into a much stronger cooldown that will indirectly increase the uptime on your mitigation through the Judgment buff. It has a tough competition with Righteous Protector being redesigned. It now reduces the cooldown of Wings and Guardian of Ancient Kings by 1 second per holy power spent. This is a major buff to the talent since its live iteration only made it valuable if you healed yourself on cooldown with Light of the Protector. And we know from Warriors that reducing the cooldown of your major shit each time you consume your resource is a big contributor to your overall tankiness throughout the content. Final Stand makes its final stand right here on the last row to fuck with the other two. This was and probably will remain one of the strongest tools you have both in raids and dungeons. I am interested to see how this row will perform once tougher content gets out and we have some challenging shit hitting our face. There is no doubt Protection Paladin is looking pretty strong right about now, and there are some interesting changes to it. I am a bit on the fence with so many talents and abilities focusing more on damage and healing than on damage reduction. I have a weird blood decay feel where I don't want Prot Paladin to go to a place where you have less upfront tankiness but more reactive healing. The unpruning made some fundamental changes to Prot, both in the Holy Power system and in the Word of Glory changes with everything it entails. It's hard to judge the power of a tank in leveling content and dungeons that are tackled with a scaled gear template. Numbers are always subject to change, so the only thing we have is to judge its design, how it feels, and maybe speculate a bit. I am intrigued by the multiple talent changes where Hand of the Protector has been made more appealing since it was always a personal favorite of mine, but also not sure how I feel about Final Stand and Righteous Protector on the same row. Special thanks to Panthea and Lincoln who provided so much more in-depth insight about the spec and what the numbers could mean. You can find these two Paladin gems in the Hammer of Wrath Discord alongside more information to come for the Holy Tank. And of course a special thank you and shout out to our patrons for supporting our content. We appreciate and love you guys so much. Obviously this is not mandatory or required in any way, but we do appreciate it because it helps us give the content a kick in the butt to be better and prettier. And if you're interested in checking what the Patreon system is all about, you can check the link down below to our Patreon, where you will also find a link to our merch site, Teespring, where you can get stuff like this. Look, it has my faction on it. This is so pretty. Thank you for watching the video, hope it helped, and we'll see you in the next one.